Hey, so on my Facebook news feed, I came across a report about a small group of soldiers, veterans of recent wars, who have attracted attention by publicly throwing down their medals outside the gates of 10 Downing Street in protest against the bombing campaign in Syria. Obviously, they're against that campaign. Now, I don't know if these men are associating themselves with the Stop the War coalition or if they're sort of doing it independently. But for me, it's thought-provoking. Um, Before commenting on this video, I would ask that you hear what I have to say, and if you think I'm full of shit, then whatever. But this is something that I have given quite a lot of thought to, because certainly these are not people that David Cameron can call terrorist sympathizers. Not that there has never been a soldier who has betrayed his or her country. There has, um, and there has been examples of, certainly in the States, there was that shooting in Fort Hood a few years ago. Um, and the reason I'm making that point is just to say that just because someone's a soldier doesn't mean they're always absolutely going to be, um, you know, extremely loyal to their country. Um, this reminds me of Ron Kovic, the film Born the 4th of July with Tom Cruise. Um, Back in the day when I was much more left wing than I am now, I had enormous respect for soldiers who became pacifists. Um, and to some extent, I still do. Um, but where I disagree with a lot of people is this idea that they are completely right. I don't think they are. And I know within the military it's very divisive in itself. Certainly, most of those commenting on the link are not soldiers. Most of those commenting and praising them, calling them heroes and so on, heroes for what they're doing in terms of throwing down the medals. I would imagine, in fact, I know the vast majority of those people are civilians and not soldiers. So there is a contrast between military opinions on soldiers who take this pacifist stance and civilian opinions. Certainly, if you're on the political left and you're opposed to the bombing campaign, this is like a godsend. All these former warriors have seen the light. They're now denouncing our evil colonialist campaign and so on. Um, there's a few things to point out, which I point out in the previous videos. A lot of people are acting like we're starting a war in Syria. This is a war that has been raging for 4 years. I'm not going to say that our bombing campaign won't kill civilians. I don't know that. And not for a second do I take any sort of jingoistic, bombastic sense of, oh yeah, we're going to get them kind of thing. Because I know there's a risk that civilians will die. But I think it's disingenuous to make a huge issue out of the possibility of civilians dying from NATO bombs and basically, if not ignoring, downplaying the tens, hundreds of thousands killed actually by the Assad regime. The Assad regime's killed a lot more people than Daesh so far. Um, I also feel that soldiers who take this very hardline position against the government action, frankly, are being a bit hypocritical. In this country, we have a professional army. We don't have conscription. So each of those individuals chose to join the army. As far as I know, they've seen tours of duty. So without question, they're brave men. Much braver than me. I haven't been to Iraq or Afghanistan. So I'm not questioning their courage. However, I do think their position is hypocritical because they are they're taking this sort of position, attacking the government for which they served, incidentally. Um, and, I don't see them protesting Daesh and telling Daesh to lay down their weapons. That's hypocritical. To attack the British government for taking military action against the Islamic State, whilst not. I think it's frankly a bit naive. I I appreciate the fact that these men have been on the ground, they've seen action, but the caveat to that is, yes, these are soldiers protesting war, but there's going to be 10 other serving soldiers who will be enraged and disgusted by what they're doing and who will disagree with their position. I mean, that doesn't get attention. I would never call these men traitors. That would be ridiculous. But I do think it's hypocritical. To me, that is a bit like saying you're a police officer, but you disagree with fighting crime, or you're a doctor and you disagree with treating the ill. If you're a soldier, it's just hypocritical to take a pacifist position unless and to do that whilst wearing the uniform, I think is ridiculous. If they really believe that, then they should take off the uniform and do that as civilians. To me, the position is hypocritical. And if that offends people, well, I'm sorry, but I believe in speaking my mind. Um, I am not questioning their courage for a second. These are guys who are brave men. They've seen war, but they're taking this position of attacking the government for which they served. They're doing it whilst they're in uniform. Um, I've seen statements from serving soldiers on this that have said that they are a disgrace to the army. Now, that's not my position. I'm not a soldier. I can't make that sort of statement. But I'm just saying that is what some people in the military are saying. Um, and I do wonder why did they join the army in the first place if they can't accept the realities and the complexities of war? That is the realities and complexities of war that sometimes governments make the decision to go to war. These brave men serve in it, but the point is they choose to do that. No one forced them to join the army, and that's a contention I have. And they're part of it. If they served in Iraq and Afghanistan, they were part of it. So it's hypocritical attacking the government when they themselves were part of it. Sure, the government made the decision, but they also made the decision to join the army. It's a fact. Um, if this video pisses people off, I'm sorry, but that's the truth. That is the plain truth. So what I would say is, by all means, we live in a democracy. They have a right to their view. They have a right to peacefully protest. But to make this big issue out of doing it in their uniform, um, how is that going to help anyone? All that is going to do is boost propaganda for Daesh by saying, "Oh, look, British soldiers are turning against their own government." I don't see how that is going to help a single Syrian civilian at all. That's my view. And I admit it's a view that would be starkly different from what I would have thought 10 years ago. I would have been very like, oh yeah, these guys are heroes. Go on, take on the corrupt government, etc., etc. Um, this does not mean I am absolutely in favor of all the government's positions. I still think that history is going to judge us for our our insanely reckless relationship with Saudi Arabia. I believe that is one of the biggest problems we're facing. And I believe the government needs to seriously. I know it's not realistic to just expect the government to cut off ties with Saudi Arabia tomorrow, but it is disingenuous for David Cameron and co to talk about fighting Daesh whilst ignoring the ideological base of Daesh, which is Saudi Arabia. The Saudis have done minimal in this fight. Supposedly they've lent some planes, but they haven't given the details. So yeah, it's a thought-provoking issue. If you are a serving soldier, I'd be very interested to know your views. But keep it respectful. I believe I've been respectful. So that's all I ask. If you disagree with me, fair enough. Feel free to say so. But if you want to just insult me, call me a stupid civvy or whatever, you know, or if you're a civilian and you want to say I'm disrespecting the military, you couldn't be more wrong. Um, but I'm interested in hearing views from serving military personnel. I appreciate maybe security reasons you can't give details, but um, I'd be interested to know your views on this. In your opinion, do you think these guys are traitors? Do you think they're a disgrace to the army, or do you think they're doing the right thing? Personally, I just think it's a hypocritical position to take. To me, that is like a police officer suddenly in his or her uniform saying, "We're going to not fight crime because we are morally opposed to fighting crime." It's nonsensical as far as I'm concerned. If I make a decision to join the army, I would do that knowing that I may well be asked to go into a conflict I may not agree with. But being in the army is not a normal job, and you know, you're not forced to do it. And that's something that, unless you're a complete idiot, then you're going to be in controversial situations. So, uh, that's my views. Just a disclaimer, I'm not saying they don't have a right to protest, not for a second, they do. But I think that all I think that's going to do is aid ISIS's propaganda. And I know a lot of, opinions are very divided on this one because some people are praising them as heroes. But I have seen quite a few comments as well that are very critical of their actions, saying that all they're doing is what I've just said, aiding the propaganda of ISIS, and they're traitors. Not my words, that's what other people are saying. I think traitors is a bit harsh because they have served their country, but let me know your thoughts anyway.